The walk towards the Biology and Genetics Study Center was uneventful. Taurus and I thought we heard rustling in the bushes on occasion, but nothing came out after us. When we arrived to the front of the building, I contacted Bryans via comms again. "Bryans, give me a sit rep," I said. "Just got intel from HQ. On my way to you now," he said. "Any hostiles around your area?" "Negative. All clear for now." Just a minute later, we saw Bryans lightly jogging down the pavement towards us. He stopped in front of us and said, "Good to see you're both still in one piece. We're in deep shit over here." "Well, we assume so," Taurus interjected. "So, what's going on? HQ better have a damn good reason for keeping us in the dark like this." Brian sighed and started. "They do. The truth is, they have no idea what's going on either. Here's the full story. The company signed a contract with the college when Professor Richards started the so-called Fertility Project. The purpose of the project was to impregnate women who were deemed infertile or unable to bear children for some other reason. But the problem is, HQ has no idea what the fuck these creatures are, and neither does the college, and they are the ones who funded the project. The project was top secret, so only the relevant info was disclosed to the company." "Unless it wasn't," I said. Bryans continued. "HQ suspects Richards is hiding something. The guards at the campus have pretty mundane duties, except for the guard stationed here in this building. His main job was to prevent anyone from entering it, and especially Richards' office, where he kept all his research data. HQ also knows for a fact that the experiments were conducted inside the building, on the basement floor, where only Richards and other project participants had access through his office. So, what does HQ want us to do? Eliminate Richards and destroy his data, along with anything relevant to the project, including the entire experimental lab. That's a direct order given by the client, or should I say the college, to the company." "How the fuck did we do that?" Taurus asked. "Glad you asked." Brian smiled and reached out behind his back. He brought forth a C4 explosive, which he promptly put back. "All right, let's move then," I said. We breached the door and found ourselves in a similar hallway to the one in the science building, but this one was a lot dirtier. The floor seemed to be covered in some sort of greenish-brown muck. It was dry in most places, but still sticky and wet in some. "Richard's office is on this floor, west side," Brian said. He didn't even finish that sentence when we heard a sudden scream somewhere in the building. Out of the corner at the end of the hallway, a silhouette peeked its head, staring curiously at us. The creature then came into full view, and what I saw resembled that of the big creature that had killed Jones and the security guard, except it was a lot smaller, the size of a toddler perhaps. It screamed similarly to its adult version, the sound of screeching car tires permeating the building, but with a lot less intensity and noise. We managed to silence it halfway through its screech with just a few bullets, but we were too late. Dozens of screams filled the building, and instantly, on our floor and the ones above, we heard hundreds of tiny footsteps running all over the place. In seconds, they started to appear from around the corner down the hallway. Dozens of creatures like the one we just killed, and they all shrieked as they ran towards us. My team and I opened fire immediately, and all of them fell pretty easily, unlike the big one we saw back in the science building. More and more kept showing up, closing in as the building was filled with a cacophony of bullets being fired at the creatures and their blood-curdling screams. I was about to shout to my teammates to fall back, afraid we'd run out of ammo, but just as quickly as the screams started, they abated and only a few stragglers remained, running over the corpses of their brothers or sisters, trying to reach us, despite not ever having a chance of doing so. Taurus shot the final one and the screams completely stopped along with the bullets, filling the building with unnerving silence. "See any more of them?" I asked, not putting my gun down. "That's all of them," Brian said as he reloaded. The hallway was filled with dozens of bullet-riddled corpses of child-sized, freakish monsters strewn all over the floor, the green muck mixed with their dark blood, making the gruesome scene look like a mass tomb. "Juveniles," Taurus remarked. Carefully, we stepped over the bodies and proceeded to the west part of the building into Richard's office, which ostentatiously contrasted the rest of the building, with expensive-looking drinks in the cabinet, trophies on the walls, etc. There was an electronic door on the other side of the room behind the desk, which led downstairs, and it had a gaping hole in it, the dent protruding towards the office, indicating that the creatures must have broken out from inside. In the corner of the room against the wall was the unmistakably mutilated body of Richards. "That's our guy?" I asked. "Looks like it," Taurus said as he knelt down to inspect him. "No reason for anybody else to be here." There was a PC on the desk, and despite the room being in a mess and the monitor being overturned, it still worked. I sat by the desk and flipped the monitor upright. The PC was unblocked and displayed the desktop screen. "Really? Not even a password?" I guess he didn't have time to log out. There was a folder right in the middle of the desktop called FP, the Fertility Project? I double-clicked it and there was various files inside, including documents. I opened the first one and it said, The Fertility Project. The purpose of the project is to fertilize females which were otherwise deemed infertile. The project is still in its early stages and purely experimental, and therefore does not guarantee any results. Furthermore, adverse effects have not been 100% eliminated, and may be visible in some subjects. Due to this, all participants, including test subjects, are under strict obligation to sign an NDA under risk of federal violation in case they disclose any sensitive information. The subjects consist of 5 women between the ages of 20 and 28 who are unable to bear children and signed up as volunteers. They will remain in the facility for the duration of the project, 3 months if unsuccessful, 12 months if able to conceive. During this time, my assistant and the 12 students who have volunteered for the project will run daily tests on the subjects. The entire project has been funded by the college. Well, I'll be, Brian said. I wonder what happened to those women. I opened the next document, which had a timeline of the events. It said, Day 1. Subjects introduced to the facility. Each subject injected with a different strain of redacted. Changes could occur within 14 days. Day 2. No visible changes. Day 7. Subjects 2 and Subjects 4 have unexpectedly died overnight. I have disposed of their bodies and told the other participants they've resigned from the project and were let go. Day 9. Out of the 5 subjects, 2, Subject 1 and Subject 3, were tested positive for pregnancy. This is a breakthrough in science and could solve the lifelong problem of infertility among married couples and otherwise. Day 21. Pregnant subjects' weight has rapidly increased along with the size of the abdomen. The pregnancy seems to be processing a lot faster than we anticipated, as the ultrasound is displaying the growth of the fetus, the likes of which was not expected to be seen before the 3rd trimester. Day 26. Subject 1 has died at approximately 1:03 a.m. The rapid growth of the baby has gone out of the hand as the subject's stomach was ripped open from the inside. The baby died shortly after, and upon examination, physical deformities became apparent. There was a picture under the text, which showed the dead body of a baby on a hospital bed. But not just any baby. It was one of the deformed creatures that we had seen earlier. Fuck, man, Torres said. I scrolled down. Day 27. Subject 3 has given birth to her baby via C-section. Just like Subject 3, Subject 1's baby displayed physical deformities and inability to breathe on its own. It was put inside an incubator, where it will be continued to be monitored. Day 31. Subject 3's baby has displayed signs of rapid growth, reaching the weight of 23 pounds in just 4 days. It has also grown in size and has therefore been put inside a bigger incubator. Day 40. The baby continues to grow, surpassing 8 feet in height and about 396 pounds. That is not the only peculiar thing about it, however. Upon running a scan, it was revealed that the baby has its own baby growing inside the stomach. It has therefore been dubbed the mother. The funds provided by the college are not sufficient anymore, but if I ask for more, they will require strong proof of why it's necessary. I have no doubt they would shut down the project if they saw what was going on here, but I can't stop now, so instead I'll use my own funds in secret. Day 52. The mother has already given birth to 3 other babies, each of them deformed even more than itself. It was still unable to breathe on its own and must therefore remain inside the incubator, but more and more fetuses seem to be forming inside of it. Day 67. The mother's babies have displayed the same patterns as her, giving birth to their own babies at a rapid pace. The babies, dubbed the rejects, can grow enormously, surpassing humans in size and physical prowess. When they're juvenile, their skin is as soft as ours, but as they grow, their skin toughens starting from the tips of their fingers and toes until it reaches the area around the chest and the heart. Once their skin is toughened completely, it becomes nearly impossible to kill them. However, further tests are needed. Another peculiar thing is that the mother seems to be able to communicate with her children, despite not having any visible form of communication. Either way, the project has been deemed a success and will be therefore shut down tomorrow, with everyone but the mother terminated. The mother will be sent to Redacted for further study, where I'll be personally leading the testing. Although the initial goal of the Fertility Project has been achieved, the results cannot be used with civilians for conception, and will therefore be instead to be used as arms trade on the black market. The assistant, subjects, and participating students will be disposed of, to prevent any risk of sensitive data being leaked. The document ended there. Well, fuck me sideways. What a piece of shit. Something must have gone wrong before they could terminate the project and the rejects, I said. We have to check out the experiment downstairs. I could see Torres' protest on his face, but he knew we had to do this. Bryant's nodded as well, and we wasted no time. I entered through the hole in the door first, and my teammates followed. The basement stairwell was dark, illuminated only by our flashlights, and now the dim glow of the PC monitor from the office. But as we got down, we reached yet another busted door, which emitted a greenish glow from inside. Carefully, we stepped inside and gasped in awe at the sight before us. In front of us was a very big room. Very tall and very spacious. On each side of the room were long rows of giant incubators that looked like upright tubes, filled with green liquid. At the very end of the room stood a much larger incubator, at least 3 times the size of other tubes. A behemoth of a creature was dormant inside, only visible with a silhouette from here. The mother, I thought instantly. Each tube had lights inside, which gave off a sickly green glow, reflecting it on the walls and the floor, even bathing me and my teammates in green. A lot of the test tubes had deformed, emaciated creatures of various sizes and shapes inside of them, who looked to be dormant and unaware of our presence. But most of the tubes were empty, with broken glass and green liquid spilling out on the floor. I recognized the green-brown muck as the one we'd seen back at the entrance. Guess we know now what happened here. How the fuck did the college fund something like this, without knowing it was happening right under their noses? You read the report, I interjected. Richard used his own funding, in addition to the college's. Let's check out that tube at the front. That might be the mother. We proceeded down the room, carefully observing the remaining intact tubes around us for any sudden movements. As we got closer, the mother became more and more clear. A creature which easily towered over 12 feet despite being hunched over. Its body was emaciated except for the stomach, which bulged prominently. The arms were disproportionately long, almost reaching down to the creature's ankles. The face, despite having a breathing mask over its mouth, was clearly as deformed as all of its children, with the bulging, lumpy forehead and thin strands of long black hair floating in the tube's green liquid. Her eyes were closed, and even from here, the skin of the creature seemed thick and scaly, like a crocodile's. I knew there was no way we can kill this thing with bullets, so I hoped the C4 was enough to blow her into smithereens. Bryans, let's set up that bad boy and get the fuck out. Bryans gladly whipped out the C4 and placed it on the tube. Almost as soon as the explosive touched the glass, the mother opened her eyes, fixating her penetrating gaze on Bryans, and then the sound of glass breaking behind us filled the room. We turned around to see the creatures crawling out of their tubes, producing gurgling noises as the liquid poured out of their mouths. We instantly opened fire, mowing down the creatures that pathetically tried to crawl out of their tanks. But then another sound of glass breaking occurred, this time from the mother's tube. I turned around just in time to see their mother firmly holding Torres by the torso like a toy, lifting him up with ease. By then, all of her children in the room were already dead, so we focused our attention to the mother, opening fire on her. As expected, the bullets simply bounced off, and we watched in horror as Torres started screaming more and more, the mother's grip on him tightening like a vice. We continued shooting relentlessly, and for an instant the mother's grip on Torres loosened, and then she squeezed again, forcefully and quickly this time, crushing Torres' body and instantly killing him. She threw his limp body across the room, and she would have hit me and probably crushed me with the impact, had I not evaded. "Fall back!" I shouted to Bryans. We started running for our lives. A very deep, very loud groan resounded in the room, making the walls vibrate. We heard the sound of something wet and heavy slapping the ground, and I turned around for a moment, enough to see the mother feverishly crawling towards us on her palms, with the glint of pure hate in her eye. We ran back up the stairs and went through the gap in the door first, turning around to see if Bryans was following me. He was just about to get out as well, when the bony hand of the mother wrapped around him. He tried breaking free, but he must have realized he was done for, because right before he got dragged back down into the dark stairwell, he threw the C4 detonator to me. "Go!" he shouted as he got pulled down. I grabbed it, and I knew there was no point in trying to rescue him. I ran as fast as I could, and then I heard the groan of the mother once more, spurring me to run even faster. As soon as I was one step out of the building, I detonated the explosive, causing an alarmingly loud bang inside the building. I kept running as I listened to the building crumbling behind me with a progressively louder noise, until it was almost deafening. Only when I was at a safe distance, I stopped and turned around to face my masterpiece of ruination. The building was completely collapsed, and all that remained was a pile of rubble and debris. I leaned on my knees, exhaling in relief, and then I heard something moving in the debris. I looked up, and sure enough, there was something stirring under. In seconds, a giant dust-covered hand popped out, propping itself clumsily on the rubble, and then the other hand. The debris started shifting in large quantities, and then the head of the mother slowly arose, groaning, now with such hate and anger that it looked like it could swallow the entire world. She made one step forward with her hand, and then braced herself with the other, slowly but surely pulling herself out of the rubble. I raised my rifle, trying to aim for its eyes, and just before I pulled the trigger, another deafening explosion occurred. I felt the heat of the blast even at the distance as the missile hit the mother. She screamed in agony this time, but also recoiled in visible fear. Another missile, and I heard someone shout, "Get to cover!" I did as they ordered, and I turned around. I saw the APC which brought us here pull up and unload at the thing mercilessly. There were dozens of other APCs and even 2 tanks from what I can see, and they were all giving the mother a barrage of missiles and bullets. The mother groaned and flailed her arms, as if trying to swat at pesky mosquitoes, but gradually her scaly skin had started to get bruised and then bloody. And then when her skin was soft enough, the armored infantry of the company ran in and started shooting at the weak spot at her chest. I joined in and fired at the creature with the anger of a man whose entire unit was gruesomely killed, not holding back. The mother screamed and spun around, trying to retreat now, but her screams faded away, and she miserably fell back on top of the debris, breathing out her last breath. "Hold your fire!" Then there was silence. A few armored security personnel hesitantly approached the dead giant and confirmed she was dead, before the commander started shouting various orders to his units on what to do next. When he was done, he approached me and asked, "Where's the rest of your unit?" "KIA," I responded. "We didn't know what we were up against." "And yet somehow you're still alive. Again," he said behind his helmet mockingly. I didn't respond. He grunted and said, "Mission complete. You did well. You should go back and report to HQ. Leave the cleanup to us. Survivor."